Welcome to BaseballGuys.com. I'm your host, Ray Flowers. I'm sporting my beard, my playoff beard for the Sharks as they get ready to start the second round against the Detroit Red Wings, and I'm also wearing my San Francisco Giants hat. Now, the news I want to talk about on the baseball field, though, is on the other side of the bay with the Oakland A's. Brett Anderson has an issue with his elbow. Buster Olney came out and said there was a flexor tendon strain, that he was going to miss somewhere around 4 to 6 weeks. Doesn't look like that necessarily is an accurate report. An MRI was taken on Anderson's elbow. Basically looks the same as it did when they did the test before the season to make sure everything was okay. Look for Anderson probably to be shut down for about 2 weeks. Look for him then to resume throwing and hopefully be back out on the hill for the A's in 3 to 4 weeks. There's a muscle strain there near the tendon itself, but the tendon itself looks good. No surgery indicated. Anderson again should be back in less than a month. Look for Trevor Cahill or Vin Mazzara to fill in until Anderson is back. If you're an Anderson owner, hold on. News is much more positive than it sounded when we first heard about it last night. Another situation with the A's, and hopefully one that will have another positive resolution to it, is the health of Kurt Suzuki. The last couple of seasons, about the most durable catcher in baseball. It's been very productive. A lot of big things expected for him in the center of that A's lineup. He's had an issue with the side. It was supposed to be overcome. He was supposed to be in the starting lineup today, but he had a bit of a flare-up and had to be removed from the lineup and miss his 4th straight game. He should be back soon. He will not probably go on the disabled list. It's not an issue like Anderson where he's going to have to be shut down, so look for him to be back in the lineup soon. But the really good news is, for those of you that own Jake Fox, Jake Fox will appear in his 5th game of the season today at catcher. If your league has a 5-game in-season requirement for the catcher position, booyah for you, Jake Fox is now eligible at the catcher position. Obviously gives him a ton of value in AL leagues, could even make him a second catcher in deep mixed leagues, depending upon your league requirements and how much playing time he gets. But Jake Fox, his value just went way up with his 5th game at the catcher's position in 2010. What's going on in the hill in the 9th inning? There's lots of craziness going on in the hill in the 9th inning. Blown saves all over the place. We've had changes in the closer's role in multiple positions. It just won't stop. We've had the injuries as kind of the #1 theme in baseball. The second one has probably been the troubles in the 9th inning. Today we had a game between the Phillies and the Giants where first Brian Wilson blew the save, then Ryan Madson blew the save. We had Octavio Dotel blew a save, and we had Trevor Hoffman blow a save. Now the issue with Hoffman, it's his 4th blown save of the season in his 9th appearance. Hoffman, who allowed only 2 home runs the entirety of last season, obviously was going to see a regression this year in his home run to fly ball ratio and his home run rate. Not going to be able to keep something that low, but we had no idea that it would bounce back so flipping hard. I almost swore there, but it's massive. Trevor Hoffman has given up 6 home runs in 9 appearances this year. 6! After giving up 2 all of last season. That obviously is the reason his ERA is in the double digits. It's obviously the reason he struggled. Is he hurt? No. He's still throwing as hard as ever. His pitches don't lack movement. The problem is his location has been really off at this point. And without the location, when you throw 86 miles an hour, you're going to get hit. Hoffman is still the closer. The Brewers haven't made the decision or the statement that they're going to remove him from that role. But Ken Maka did come out and say, look, Villanueva, Hawkins, these guys are going to get some opportunities in the short term. We can't afford to keep having our guy go out there and blow games. Look for Hoffman to work on some mechanical things, to work on that location, and look for him to bounce back. He's a really good buy low candidate at this point because, again, he hasn't been demoted, he hasn't been removed from that role, and his current owner is probably mighty ticked off that he's got a Trevor Hoffman with 4 blown saves and 9 opportunities. Going to the situation in Texas, there's already been a switch there. Neftali Feliz was made the closer. Frank Francisco was demoted because of some early season struggles. Well, is that going to be what happens? Is that going to be what continues moving forward? We'll have to wait and see. Francisco has had a 1.29 ERA in the 7 games he's appeared in since he was demoted. He's pitched very well. You can make an argument almost as well as Feliz. And Feliz is still having problems going on back-to-back days. Therefore, the Rangers have come out and said, look, Feliz, if you can't go back-to-back days, we'll have Francisco chip in here. It might be a situation in a worst-case scenario where, Francisco gets 10 to 15 chances over the course of the season to close out games. In a best-case scenario, there might be a flip-flop back to Francisco actually pitching in the 9th inning. So if you're in an AL-only league and you've got Francisco, hold on tight. If he's on another team, go ahead and make a play for him if his current owner's a little frustrated, because not only is he pitching very well, but it looks like, again, he'll have an opportunity to at least pick up a few saves here and there, possibly an opportunity to go back into that role full-time for the Rangers. Question for you. Which closer in baseball has the most saves? The only closer in baseball with 10. I'll wait a second. Still don't know? How about Matt Capps of the Nationals? Yeah, you probably would have never guessed that unless you were looking at the stats very closely. Capps always had really good pinpoint control. Hasn't really shown that this year, but he's offset the walks with an increased strikeout rate. There's a bit of question of whether or not he'll maintain that closer's role all season. The Nationals could very easily move him as we get closer to the trade deadline and their team starts to fall out of the race. He might then be inserted to a better team's bullpen as a setup guy versus a closer. But for right now, Matt Capps is one of the best options in baseball. He came dirt cheap probably on draft day. You're getting a great return for the money. Ride him for now. Don't be afraid to move him if you hear those trade winds kind of picking up. But those people that took a chance on Matt Capps, you've been greatly rewarded so far early in this season. What's going on in Minnesota? Well, there's two big stories in Minnesota. First, there's the health of Justin Morneau. Morneau is hitting in the 350s. He's been very excellent at the dish all season long. He leads baseball in on-base percentage. Unfortunately, his back issue has cropped back up again. Now, he missed a lot of the last month of the season last year with injury. He's now dealing with a back issue. Right now, there's not a long-term concern with it in the sense that it looks like a DL issue. It does not look like that. The Twins can cover up for the loss of Morneau in the short term. They can use Kubel and Young and Jim Thome in the lineup every day. Move Kadire over to first base and be okay. Long term, obviously, they need Morneau in that lineup. If you're a Morneau owner, keep your fingers crossed that he'll be healthy because he started out so hot. This is minor news right now. Hopefully it doesn't grow into something major. And then finally, Joe Mauer is the name I want to discuss. Now, coming into the season, Mauer was one of my busts of the year. Not because I didn't think he would vie for the batting title, not because I don't love the guy and his beautiful stroke at the dish, but because I just flat out didn't think he would have a chance to repeat what he did last year, let alone improve upon it like some other people did. The fact of the matter is that Mauer was a little bit lucky on his batting average and balls in play rate. His batting average will probably come down a bit because of that. But more concern was the power. He'd been a 10, 13 home run type of hitter for the previous couple of seasons. Last year that number rose to 28. Why did it raise to 28? Did he hit more fly balls? No, he didn't. The reason it did is because his home run to fly ball ratio took a massive increase. It basically tripled from where it had been the previous few seasons. With that, logic says, hey, it's going to regress. It's going to get back toward the career normal. And so I went out on a limb and said, look, I don't have a doubt at all that Mauer can challenge for the batting title, but I don't see 25 home runs for him. I think he'll have a tough time getting 20 home runs. Am I right or wrong? Well, we're only in April, so we'll still have to wait and see over the course of the season whether I was right or wrong there. But I can tell you this. Over his last 34 games dating back to last season, a span of 129 at-bats, obviously basically a fifth of a season, almost a quarter of a season for a catcher, actually. In those 129 at-bats, and do you know how many home runs Joe Mauer has hit? One. Joe Mauer has one home run in his last 129 at-bats. Now, he's challenging for the batting title in the American League. He's challenging for the on-base percentage crown in the American League like he will. But again, be careful about having those expectations be too high in the power department. Joe Mauer is not a 30 home run guy. He could be a 20 home run guy. And if you got a catcher hitting 330 with 20 home runs, you better not be at all upset, because that's some hell of production from a catcher's spot. Again, I'm Ray Flowers, this is BaseballGuys.com. Thanks for joining me on Around the Horn, and I'll talk to y'all again before the end of the week.